So as somebody who played a ton of Diablo 4 when it first came out, I ended up taking the past few seasons off, but now they have released the Vessel of Hatred, the first full expansion for the game, and I jumped back in and I've been having a blast. I've been putting countless hours into this game. It's been actually unreal. It's been a problem. And I've been playing the new Spiritborn class, which is absolutely insane. Easily the best class in the game. It's the most fun class in the game, in my opinion. There's so many different ways to play that. So with this video, I just want to go over all of the new things that came with this expansion and show off the Spiritborn build that I've been taking through endgame. I'm absolutely crushing it. I'm doing like pit 100 pluses. It is nuts, and there's still a lot of areas I can improve. So we're going to be going through all those different things with this video. Just for full disclosure, this video is sponsored by Blizzard, but that does not change any of my opinions about it. I seriously have been having a blast with this expansion. Before we get into the build, I just want to talk about all of the new stuff. So with this expansion, there's a whole new campaign in an entirely new region, which is really cool. It's actually very lengthy too. There's a lot to it, and there's some awesome looking cutscenes in it as well. So if you guys are super into the Diablo lore, it's got everything there for you. Also, there are mercenaries now. So if you guys are playing solo, you can hire different mercenaries that have different powers that can buff you, help you deal some extra damage, which are really cool. And they're actually very helpful for some builds. There's some things that you can get them to do that like maybe your class can't. Like you can get some Fortify going on Spiritborn, which can help with some overpower things, which we're actually going to be looking at later in the video with the build. There's also the Dark Citadel. This becomes available once you're in the Torment levels. And essentially this is like basically the Diablo version of a raid, which is really cool. There's a lot to that. Awesome rewards in there. And then the Spiritborn, just I cannot get over this class enough. It is seriously so good. There's so many different builds with it as well. There are awesome things you can do. And then there's the Cuirassed Undercity, which is a new like multi-layered dungeon that you're going to want to be speeding through. It's a great way to level up. You're going to unlock it at level 15, so you can access that super early. You get a ton of good rewards. You can put like tributes in and target different things and boons. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with the Undercity. And then there are rune words, which are really cool. So instead of just slotting like gems for extra resistances or armor or whatever on your gear, you can now actually put in these runes where it's essentially like a cause and effect. So you can say like, if I do this, then this thing's going to happen. So you can actually invoke skills from other classes as well. That's another thing we're going to be taking advantage of with the build that I'm going to be showing off in this video. So for example, you can like spend some of your character's resource, and then you can then spawn in like the Druid's Bulwark ability for a barrier, even if you're not on Druid, which is really cool. So you can mix and match all these different things and fit all sorts of different play styles, and you can build around them. They're really cool. So if you guys are looking to get this expansion, make sure you go down to the description, click on that link. You can get it now on PC, Battle.net, and Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. Now, it's really hard for us to have a video on this channel without it featuring some sort of build, so I want to go over the Spiritborn build that I've been using here at endgame. I've been pushing past pit 100, and there's still a lot of upgrades that I could get going on this. I'm hitting for tens of billions, well into the billions, and when optimized, this build can start hitting into the trillions, which is insane. It does so much damage. It's easily one of the strongest builds in the entire game, but Spiritborn, like I said, has so many different options. Like I'm doing a Thorns build on a second Spiritborn that I have, which is really cool. I have had friends do like Poison Centipede things. There are just so many different ways you can play this character, which is awesome. So I want to be quickly going over what I have set up and also be mentioning some basics of Spiritborn along the way. So if you guys are picking up this class, you can make a build for yourself. A great place to start would be our Spirit Hall. This is like our special class specific ability center that we have for the Spiritborn. So with this, there are 4 spirits. So that's kind of the whole theme of the Spiritborn. Is there's a Jaguar, Eagle, Gorilla, and Centipede spirit. Each have their own different themes. Jaguar is kind of centered around hitting really fast, cooldowns. Eagle is about movement mostly. Gorilla is thorns, barrier, kind of more tanky survivability areas. And Centipede is about poison and like slowing enemies. So this class is heavily incentivized to mix and match different spirits. So if you look at my skill bar down here, you can see I have 2 Jaguar skills, 2 Eagle skills, a Centipede skill, and a Gorilla skill. I'm mixing and matching a ton. It's not just straight all of one thing. And a big reason we can do that is with our primary spirit, it's going to change all of our skills to also be Jaguar skills. So my gorilla, centipede, and eagle skills, if you look at their tags, they are also jaguar, which is really cool. And then with an item, we can actually get our secondary spirit on there as well. So with our gorilla and then our helmet, this is a new unique for the Spiritborn. This is going to make it so our secondary spirit type is also on our skill tags. So our main skill, Quill Volley, is eagle, jaguar, and gorilla. So we can take advantage of a bunch of different aspects of our skill tree and different effects, which is really cool. So with these, jaguar is going to store up 15% of the damage that you've dealt over the last 0.5 seconds. And this is what's going to allow us to deal insane amounts of damage. So really quick, you guys are going to see it as a like big white number mostly. So quickly, if I can spawn, I'm just going to do it on these guys. It's fine. You're going to see big white numbers pop out right there. 10 billion, 12 billion, almost 13 billion. So those numbers are actually that jaguar spirit taking effect. So those are billions on top of the billions we're just directly doing as well. Just remember that it's like 15%, which is pretty nuts. And then we can combine that with our skill tree. So if we take a look at the skill tree, there are so many cool things about it. Now we are going to be skipping the basics right now, just because Quill Volley turns into a basic for us with one of the uniques that we're using. It's our unique weapon. And we're at 15 out of 5 ranks, which is pretty nuts. And Quill Volley is just going to be sending out a fan of feathers in front of you, and they just deal so much damage. It is actually crazy. So we're going to be maxing that out and then grabbing advantageous Quill Volley so they deal extra damage when you hit more feathers on a target. Then we can grab Vigorous so we can increase our core skill vigor generation, which is really nice. And then Balanced Exertion. We do want them to spend more because right now when we use it at all at full vigor, we're going to be dealing all of our vigor in one hit. So it doesn't really matter if it costs more. Then we're going to be grabbing Vortex. This is going to allow us to group enemies up. It's really good for speed clearing. Then we can just get extra damage on our next skill cast, which is very helpful. Then from here, we're going to be grabbing some passives of Focal Point so we can get 2 Apex. And then I'm just putting 1 point in Diminishment right now just because I had an extra point, but you can move this wherever. And then 3 points in a Mirage for extra crit chance and dodge chance. And then Unrestrained Power, so we get 12% X damage while we're unhindered or unstoppable. You're going to always be unstoppable with this setup just because we have a bunch of stacks of Resolve and our secondary spirit is Gorilla. So this is always going to be active, which is really, really nice. Then a big key part of this build, you're going to want this active at all times while you're fighting, is Ravager. We don't really care about its extra damage, its extra attacks that it does. We care about these two here. So this is going to extend its duration when we get kills, which is really nice. So that way we have to cast it less, but you guys are going to be having rapid cooldowns. And then the big part here is Measured Ravager. So when this is active, when we cast our core skill, so Quill Volley, you're going to be dashing to your targets so you can get nice and close to them and make sure you hit all feathers on one target. But the main part is going to be increasing all of our vigor generation by 30%. We want our vigor to be full at all times. And like I said, when we cast our ability at full vigor, it's going to spend all of it. But with another unique, our ring, once we get there, it will all make sense. This is going to help us keep full vigor after every single cast. Then we can do Armored Hide for some extra block chance. Block chance is very important because we can stack up some extra crit damage with it. But here we can just get some extra DR from it as well, which is really nice. And then we can grab Counter Attack. This is going to be passively active. This isn't actually on our bar, but with our ring, this is going to be active and allow us to get extra critical damage for each nearby close enemy, which Vortex helps us achieve. Another core part of this build, and something else you're going to want to be active at the same time as Ravager, is Scourge, because when we activate Scourge, we can increase our damage to crowd-controlled enemies, which is really nice. And another big one is you're going to generate 60% of your maximum vigor over 6 seconds. So when you combine both of these, it's really going to help you out keep that full vigor on every single cast. We can grab some passives of Endurance and Perseverance here. As we move down, we can get Resilient because, once again, all of our skills are Gorilla skills with our helmets and our secondary spirits. So that's a free 15% max life whenever we hit something. Then we can get Brilliance for some extra damage with our Eagle skills. This is 13% with my current move speed. You can get this actually a little bit higher. I'm a little bit short on movement speed. Then we can grab Potent. Whenever we hit enemies with Jaguar skill, we're going to increase the damage we do to them. Everything's a Jaguar skill. Same thing here with Furnace. We can get extra crit damage per stack of Ferocity, which is something that we're going to be able to stack pretty high. Then our ultimates, you can be spamming these, which is so fun. The Hunter is so good. You're going to send out a line, you can, or like a little Jaguar. You can jump to its location and it's going to spin in a circle. It's going to heal you with some of our passives over here, like Sustenance. And it's going to allow you guys to deal 100% increased damage to injured enemies for 8 seconds, which is nuts. And Ferocity is going to increase our attack speed and our crit damage. Then also, when you kill an enemy while it's active, you have a chance of just resetting its cooldown, basically right there. But this chance is halved after each consecutive reset. So you can get this going between like 2 and 3 times pretty actively. And then when you combine that with our key passive, which we're going to get to in a second, you can get a ton of just free cooldowns. But some other passives is Resolution, Spiritual Attunement, Initiative, and Supremacy. So you guys are going to want to be spamming this. So you can stack up a ton of damage. And then you can spam this by Prodigy's Tempo. Since our Quill Volley is a basic and a core, it's going to be doing all of these in one. So you're going to be increasing its ranks by 2. And also decreasing your cooldowns by 10% every single time. So every single time you cast 3 Quill Volleys, all of your skills on cooldown are going to be reduced by 10%. So you can spam these, and as you're spamming those, you can get just so much cooldown really quick. If I just show off jumping in with the Hunter, spamming all my abilities, you can see how quickly my cooldowns are getting reset. And there's some different ways of actually getting this much quicker with like some of the Jaguar skills. You can get these looping so fast, but that's really all we need for Quill Volley anyways. It's gonna help us deal a ton of damage. To get this build really cooking, you're going to need 4 uniques. Now, we have looked at one of them already, and that is the helmet. This is going to allow us to deal increased damage per spirit type they are. So if it's max, 30%. We get 3 different spirit types on here. That is a ton of extra damage just from our helmet, which is amazing. Then the other unique is going to be the Rod of Kepaleke. This thing is what's going to be making it so our core skills are also basic skills. But then when you cast them at maximum vigor, it's going to consume all of it and help you deal a lot more damage. And they're going to be guaranteed crits. And they're going to be doing more damage, more crit damage per point of vigor that they consume. So with this build, you're going to be stacking a ton of vigor. The end goal is to get to 275. So you can combine it with the Banished Lord's Talisman, which is going to make it so after spending 275, which if your resource is above that, it's going to be every single cast is going to trigger this. You're going to be able to have that core skill be an overpower, and this can be a guaranteed crit, which is going to deal even more damage. So that's why our damage is just getting absolutely bonkers. I don't even have 275 yet. I'm at 190. So there's definitely some big upgrades, especially on the staff that I can get going with like greater affixes and some masterworking. So I'm going to be working towards that. Otherwise, focus on your max life. As you can see, I have that masterworked a few times for 24%. And then finally, the last unique that you need is the Ring of the Midnight Sun. When you critically strike, you're going to regain 50% of the vigor that you spent in the last 2 seconds. Also, we get our counterattacks passive, which is that crit damage for the close enemies, which is really nice. So this is what it's going to allow us to spam full vigor all the time. So when our Scourge and Ravager are active and we consume all of it, it's just instantly going to fill back up. As you can see right there, instantly full after every single cast. So that's why it's able to be triggering the Rod basically every single cast, as long as you maintain your Scourge and your Ravager and you're hitting enemies. From there, you can just spam. Some other legendary effects, some aspects that we're going to be using is increasing our Fortify whenever we dodge. We're going to be dodging very often with this build. And since we're overpowering, Fortify is going to help out our damage. Then we're going to be using Moonrise for the extra attack speed and basic skill damage. Since once again, this is a basic skill with our Rod, which is really nice. Then we can do block chance per stack of Resolve. And the reason we want to do that, right now I'm at 18 stacks of Resolve. So we're getting a ton of extra block chance, and then we get to 100% when Armored Hide is active, is because we can get extra crit damage equal to a percentage of our block chance, and this is going to double whenever we block. So we can stack our damage like crazy. This is actually going to go over 100% block chance, even though your stat page will only say 100%. It will stack further than that. You can get a ton of extra damage. But then otherwise, we can add in maximum stacks of ferocity so we can get more attack speed and crit damage. I throw that on my boots. And that overall is like all the uniques and aspects you need. Focus on getting barrier regen gems, or sorry, barrier generation gems on your armor. That way you can take advantage of another Paragon node that is dealing a ton of damage, which we're going to be going over here in just a second. So the Paragon system has changed quite a bit since the last time I played. Now you're limited to 5 boards, including the starting board, so you can only add 4 boards. But this means you can fill them out, which is really nice, especially since we go up to level 300 in terms of Paragon. So you can fill out a lot of aspects of it, and we can get pretty much everything, which is really nice. So I'm going to be going over the different boards and glyphs that I'm using. So in the starting board, I'm just grabbing max health when I can, because that's going to be taking advantage of a legendary Paragon node a little bit later. And then here I have Colossal Glyph. Allows us to deal more damage with Gorilla skills, and we're getting more damage per stack of Resolve, and we get a ton of Resolve. So this is going to be like 30-something%. Then as we move up, we're going to move into the Convergence board. This will allow us to deal bonus damage based on your highest bonus damage types. So this is very easy to hit, and you can put the Headhunter Glyph in here and allow you to deal more damage to elites, and when you make it legendary, you get a free 5% extra damage. Then we can move over to the Revealing board. This gives you a chance to knock down vulnerable enemies, and you deal more to crowd-controlled enemies. This is great for survivability as you're mobbing and dealing extra damage. And in here is where I put the Canny Glyph for non-physical damage. Since our quills are lightning, it's going to increase the amount of non-physical that they take from us, and once it's legendary, increases non-physical. As we're moving up here, we can grab the Viscous Shield. This is what's going to allow us to deal so much damage. So you deal increased damage for each 3% of your maximum life as barrier. This is going to be increasing the more and more life and barrier you have, which is why you want to stack health and barrier gen. When you combine these things, it can help you deal a ton of extra damage. Before and after I equipped this node is night and day in terms of damage, so make sure you guys get this and stack up your health and barrier gen, which is why I'm grabbing things like the damage reduction, and there's also barrier gen down here, and there's a little bit more barrier generation up here, which I'll be grabbing shortly as I level up a little bit more. But for the glyph in here, we're going to be grabbing Talon. Allows our Eagle skills to deal increased crit damage and increases our lightning damage once it's legendary. Then our final board is going to be Sapping. So when we cast 3 skills in a row, you're going to restore your vigor and deal 30% increased damage for 5 seconds. You're going to be using one skill all the time. You're going to be spamming it. You're going to be able to get that going non-stop. You can increase your maximum resource and your resource gen over here in some passives, which is really nice. And then for our glyph over here is going to be Spirit. It's going to make it so when you critically strike, they're going to be taking more damage from you, which is really nice, and increase our damage to elites. As you upgrade this, these numbers are going to get bigger and bigger, so I really do recommend getting these up to level 100. It's going to make a big difference. I'm currently in that process myself. I've been seriously having a blast with this expansion and this build. There's just so many different things you can do, and I'm even making like a Thorns build right now. There's a lot of kind of like off meta stuff that you can do that is still really good. And I seriously think Diablo 4 right now with this expansion is in the best state it has ever been, and they have so many updates coming, so I'm really excited to see where this game goes. And right now they're on a fantastic track, and I'm really having a good time. Yeah, thank you for Blizzard for sponsoring this video. That is awesome. I've been a very big Diablo fan, Diablo 4 fan, and it's been awesome jumping back in, so thank you for that opportunity. Once again, that does not change any of the opinions that I've said to you here in this video. It's seriously the best state this game has been in. So if you haven't picked up the expansion, make sure you do so. Once again, link in the description. You can grab it on PC, Battle.net, or Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. But hopefully you enjoyed the build and learning a little bit more about the expansion. So thank you guys for watching this far. I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.